On page number 8, there's a picture of what we call the house of compliance. Okay, if you're a financial institution and you have a compliance program, these are the core elements that make up a successful compliance program that are necessary for a successful program. Now, you can say you have all these. It's do you actually have them and are they functioning? Okay, specific to fair lending today, what we want to ensure that is that fair lending is accounted for throughout your structural house of compliance. The culture on the bottom. Okay, let me give you a short and sweet on that. It needs to be that it's not just compliance's job to do fair lending. It needs to be everyone's job. Okay, everyone that's associated with lending anyway. It's everyone's job to do fair lending compliance, not just the compliance department. They're there for information and advice and to disseminate information. The risk assessment, I mentioned a couple pages back, you have to decide the level of risk as a board and a management team of how much you're willing to accept, like with discretion and exceptions. What's your level that's acceptable? And then make sure you manage to that. You have to set policies that say, here's how we're going to go about and do fair lending in our organization. Leave the procedures to management in the front lines and how they're going to carry out that mission, but the policy level stuff needs to happen at the board. Training, you're getting training here today, but what sort of training do you have planned on an ongoing basis? And then beyond that, for your teams, hey, that are doing the work in the trenches, that it's ongoing. Make sure there's a budget for that. Hey, make sure it's not just something that they check the box. Make sure it's meaningful training. Hey, audits and monitoring. What I like to say there is, how are you keeping your finger on the pulse? What are your gauges for ensuring that fair lending compliance is going the way you would expect it to? Hey, complaint management. Hey, hopefully you've got a complaint program, and that when things rise to the level of something that maybe would be fair lending, that you get that information. Which brings us to reporting. You can't manage what you don't know at the management and board level. You've got to make sure there's information that's coming your way in the form of fair lending reports and exception reports and discretion reports, complaint reports. But you also have to give information back. That reporting column, that structural element, that's got to be a two-way street. And you already know where you sit. You sit at the top. Sit at the top of the house of compliance. Okay, your job is to provide oversight, which means you need information. You've got to make sure these things are all accounted for, but you also have to provide information and feedback back the other way as well. Okay, make sure your house of compliance is in order. And then number 2, with respect to our topic today, that fair lending is woven into and throughout.